All right. Welcome, everyone, again. If you're just joining or if you've already been here, we would love to welcome you to the Harding-Wallingford Intersection Project Information Meeting. My name is Jasmine Isaac. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for this project. And this evening, we're just going to take a little bit of time to meet the staff that are on this project, but also to share with you the purpose, the need, and the design for this project. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So a quick overview for technology. If you're new or old to Zoom, here's some features that are very helpful during the session. If you see at the bottom of your screen or cell phone, there's a taskbar that would allow you to raise your hand, but also to submit a question for the Q&A. At the end of the session, we'll have time. I will receive those questions throughout the session. Feel free to drop them in, and we will go through them at the end of the session and get those answered for you. So please don't hesitate to drop a question that you may have as we're going through this presentation. We'll go on to the next. Some quick meeting housekeeping rules. We just ask that the audience here today, that they remember to respect all as we're voicing our opinions or sharing our ideas, and be thoughtful in the language that we use so that we can have an inclusive, cooperative, and collaborative space as we share this information with you and answer any questions that you may have. Overall, our purpose, one of our many purposes to be here today is to engage with you. We do our best to be able to share information to the public, as well as receive any feedback or questions that you may have. And we do this through a series of a variety of different methods. One of the most popular in these past few years, virtual, but also sometimes face-to-face. But this evening, we're here for a virtual info session, and we're so glad that you're here as well. Lastly, I think I've already introduced myself. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist, but also here today from the city, we have Tracy Anderson. She is the project manager, as well as Luke Liu, who's our transportation engineer. The three of us are a team on this project, and we'll hopefully be able to answer any questions that you may have for us. So at this time, I'll turn it over. I'll go through our agenda very quickly. We will be discussing the project purpose and need, the design, looking at some cost comparison, some of the impacts that you may feel or experience during the construction, how long this project will take, and of course, any questions that you may have. So at this time, I'll turn it over to our project manager, Tracy Anderson, and she'll get us started.
Thanks, Jasmine. So the purpose for this project in general, why we're in the neighborhood at all, is because we're doing a project on Harding Road as part of the 2025 miscellaneous utilities project. We're doing a project on Harding because there currently is no water main or sanitary sewer on Harding Road. So all the residents on that road have non-standard leads that connect to, either Wallingford or Morton. And there are some non-standard storm structures too that we will be replacing. And believe it or not, the road is in pretty poor condition. I'm sure you've noticed that before. So we're going to repave that too.
All right. Some of the background information leading into tonight's discussion. On this slide, we're referencing information from two city master plan elements. On the left side, the three items: safety, accessibility for all, meaning all modes of travel, and mobility. So those are the three main pillars of the city's comprehensive transportation plan. That's also called A2, Vision Zero Moving Together plan. The one on the right is the A20, which bears a similar name, but this one is more often known as the city's carbon neutrality plan. And both plans are aligned in the area of multimodal mobility, and which leads to some of the discussions we're going to have here tonight about the intersection of Harding and Wallingford. As if we move on to the next slide, staff is working under the direction of last year's City Council resolution, which states that the city administrator to evaluate opportunities to incorporate traffic calming elements into capital projects, which significantly disturb existing road surface, particularly those that are a part of the all ages and all abilities network, identified in the transportation plan. School, walk zone, where a record of crashes, speeding, and/or resident complaints exists, or otherwise suggest a need for calming to enhance comfort and safety for non-motorized users, regardless of the petition status. So we currently do not have any petition status for any streets near this intersection, but this is a standard practice that staff explore the opportunities to deploy traffic calming features as part of the capital improvement. So passing back to Tracy.
So now I will go over the intersection design. So this is a quick graphic of the new design. The yellow line is the existing curb line that's out there now. The white line, can you see my mouse? Okay, so this white line is the new curb line proposed. The other white is new concrete. This is a new concrete approach, and this is new sidewalk ramps to go to the new crosswalk. And then the blue is all new asphalt. All of Harding will get paved, but we're going to pave this much of Wallingford, the entire intersection. Some more details, the stop sign will be moved up here, more closer to the intersection. And this is the standard no parking sign that's already there. That's just going to be moved out closer to the curb, the new curb line. And then this ramp here goes right into a tree. So unfortunately, we will have to remove that tree. But with all this new green space, it makes room for at least 2 new trees to be planted. So I'll just let you kind of digest this a little more, but yeah, this Harding still has this nice curve to it, and Wallingford still has the curve also. So to recap, the intersection design reduces the crossing distance at the crosswalk. It slows southbound Wallingford traffic by making them slow down to take this sharper turn. It improves sight lines with the stop sign closer to the intersection, and it increases green space in the intersection. This also has a lot less pavement to maintain, which is good for the city too. I got a lot of inquiries about the cost comparison of this. So if we reconfigure the intersection, it's estimated cost about $100,000. If we keep everything the same, it's an estimated cost about $87,000, because it's that much asphalt that we're not paving and we don't have to pay for. So the difference here is only about $13,000. Through construction, some impacts to residents for the road is there's going to be at least 1 lane open to local traffic at all times. You'll always be able to go to your house. There's going to be on-street parking is going to be restricted during the daytime. There will be signs, temporary no parking signs posted on the adjacent roads. If the construction crew is in front of your driveway for more than like an hour, they will tell you that you won't be able to access your driveway for the next day. They'll notify you the day before at least. Everything, all the curbside, garbage, trash, recycling, Amazon deliveries, mail, and like emergency services, there will be no interruptions to those. Inevitably there is dust and noise during construction. So those will be watchful for that during the working hours. And FYI, the working hours do include Saturdays. And then any disturbed area in the lawn extension will be restored. The project only is in the right-of-way, the city right-of-way, which is basically back of sidewalk to back of sidewalk. So everything will be within that, and anything that's disturbed in that, any grass areas will be reseeded after the project is done. This is a water main project, so there will be some impacts to Your water services, we do try to limit those as much as possible, but when we connect the new Harding water main to the adjacent streets, we're gonna have to shut down the water main for a little bit. But you will get a door hanging, an orange door hanger like this one shown on the right, at least 48 hours in advance, so you know when it's shut down and you can kind of plan for that. Water main breaks do happen during construction with all the vibration and just working so close to the pipes. Those can't be notified about because they are unexpected, but we do try to fix those as much as possible, as fast as possible. And then after the water main is shut down and the new one's connected, it is normal to see a little discoloration in your water, but this is safe and normal. If you just flush out the water from the lowest faucet of your house or a hose bib, it usually clears it right up. For timeline, we're right here in the fall of 2024. We're doing public engagement tonight, and we're in initial design right now. We're finalizing the design, and we're going to bid out the project in the winter, in January, and then summer it will be the construction of Harding. Again, it's part of the 2025 utilities, so it's up to the contractor when they actually come here and do it. But it will be within some time between like June and November. And I'm estimating that this project will last about 2 months. So.
All right. So thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Luke. So at this time, we're going to open the floor for questions. So if you could please drop your question in the Q&A chat function, and then it will appear to me, and then I can read it aloud and hopefully be able to get an answer for you from our project team. So I'll give about 5 or 10 minutes for people to type, and then we'll check those out. We have a question. Our first one is from Dave and Sue Moody. Is there any data on crashes, speeding, and resident complaints to support the need for traffic calming in this area?
Yeah, I can probably take that one. This area does have a very good crash history, meaning there's not much. Over the past 10 years, we only had one. It's between two cars. One of them is actually parked on street, so there's no injury involved. And that was in 2014. After that, there was no other reported crashes. As to speeding, we did not take measurements. The reason we did not is that these are short segments and they're on curve, so that's when speed could change. So there's not a consistent way of generating meaningful numbers, but we did spend time in the neighborhood to observe. There's no perceived speeding issues. So and the changes we're proposing is purely based on if there's anything we can do better with the proposed change. Things like the distance for the crosswalk, that will be much reduced, and the intersection area is better defined without losing, I guess, the curvature on existing like Harding or Wallingford.
Thank you. I have another question. Barry on Harding Road. Will we need to remove and replace our driveway and reconnect our water and sewer connections?
I can answer that. If the project needs to do it, the project will do it and pay for it. For the water main, definitely everybody's gonna get connected to the new water main, like as part of the project. The sanitary sewer, we could talk offline because it's more like specific to each house. But we are trying to find the sanitary sewer leads right now. You should have all gotten a letter saying that we have to dye test the sewer leads to see which main they're connected to. I don't want to go into too much engineering jargon, but if if the sanitary leads are in Harding, then the project will also connect them.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Question from Zach: would the width of the street still support 2 cars at the same time?
Yes, that the width of the streets are going to stay the same as they are past the intersection.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Question from Maria. The website says there's currently no water main or sanitary sewer on Harding, and the houses are served by non-compliant leads. Will our leads be made compliant?
Yes, the leads on Harding will be made compliant. Again, definitely for the water main, because we know where those leads are, but we have very little data and records on sanitary sewer leads because they are private actually, all the way to the main. But that's why we're putting a sanitary sewer there, so we can have a conventional lead to the sewer.
Okay. Follow up from Zach. He initially asked, would the width of the street still support 2 cars at the same time? But he said, I'm not asking about past the intersection. I'm asking about at the intersection. Could it support 2 cars at the same time?
Yes, that I explained that wrong. The width of the road at the intersection will be the same as the width of the road past the intersection. It's all 22 feet wide. So we didn't narrow the intersection any more than the rest of the street. Does that make more sense?
Mhm. Yes. Okay. Maria, follow up. Thanks for the answer. Will the leads work require access to our homes and or digging?
Yes, for the dye test, we just need to come in, Public Works comes in and flushes a dye down the drain, and then they find where it comes out in the main and the road. And then the contractor will send a camera up the lead from the road also. After we know where that's connected to from the dye test, they will send up a camera and find it exactly. And then we can work with you individually to find the best place to connect them. If your lead is not on Harding, like if somehow it goes out to Hermitage or something, which is possible, we will still leave you a stub, which we can work with you too to find a good place to where to leave the stub. And then if something happens to your lead in the future and you would have to replace it, then you would be required to replace it to the lead in Harding.
Okay. Question from Bruce, and he asked, we've lived in our house on Wallingford. I don't want to put your address out there for X amount of years. We've never seen any sign of a dangerous situation. So what is prompting the change to the road intersection, etc.?
Right, you're correct. There's no data or sign of dangerous behavior, and that's why we are not proposing any additional traffic calming features like speed hump or anything like that. And we totally recognize this is a utilities project, and where staff is following council resolution, trying to, I guess, explore if there's any non-invasive improvement that could be explored and deployed as part of the capital project. That's why we are exploring the idea about reducing the size of the intersection, reducing the width or the crossing distance for pedestrians.
Okay. Maria said, thanks for your answer. Tracy mentioned leaving a stub regarding the leads issue. What's a stub?
This is more engineering jargon. Sorry. So the main is the sewer that is in the road that goes parallel to the road. The lead, it comes off perpendicular to that, and then we'll just cut that off basically at the right of way line and cap that, and that'll be like just a little stubby lead for you to connect onto later.
Okay. Question from Thompson's. Some of our Harding neighbors have their main water valves in our lawn area. Will that now be amended?
Yes, now, Public Works would put in a new water valve for their, service in their yard. Yes.
Okay, let's see. We answered that question. I guess somebody posed this question. Is there, from Bruce, is there any consideration taken in from the neighborhood residents about this change?
That's a good question again.
Um, Absolutely. So, you're the residents, you use that every day, and that's exactly why we're here. So we have not made any determination, and we want to present just based on what we have collected, the direction to staff, and this is what we have in front of us.
Okay, and then question from Joe on Scottwood. The driving surface of the busy connection between Washtenaw and Stadium, which is Austin, Scottwood, Wallingford, Harding, is a disaster. What will be done to correct this dangerous road? So I'm assuming that he's talking about one of the connecting streets, but I'm not sure if this encompasses our current project. So
Yeah,
again,
Luke might know of something that is planned in the future, but we are only focused on this intersection because this is where the utility capital project is. And so we're not addressing any other intersections at this time.
okay. Okay. See. I think our last question is from someone anonymous, but as a bicyclist, I feel that there are some of the safest roads to ride on from a traffic perspective, but the actual quality is quite dangerous. Are we going to fix these problems?
The quality of the asphalt, I am assuming that's what they're saying.
I think
So
so.
we are repaving Harding and a little bit of this the Wallingford intersection as part of the project. And I do know this neighborhood is on the resurfacing list in the coming years. So they are on the radar.
Okay, thank you. So, oh, we have another question. Oh, somebody asked, why is there a need necessarily to change the curvature that exists?
This is more of an opportunity. If we didn't really have a capital project, probably this one will not come to highlight. But since we do have disturbance to the street, and that's exactly what the council resolution is talking about, we're trying to capture this opportunity and make some improvement.
Okay. A great question from Zach. He asked, what should residents do if they are very concerned about the new design, the new curve, and are worried about the impacts on their specific properties?
Luke, do you want to take that one?
Well, I think staff is always ready to take input and hear, I guess, suggestions and feedback to the proposed change and design. So, and I guess we explain the rationale behind it, and so, but again, we're not proposing the more typical speed hump or curb bump out, even though this one can be perceived as a bump out of the original curb line. So, but that's I guess from the staff perspective, we're not really seeing this one as relatively speaking, more invasive than other traffic calming devices that we typically see as part of the traffic calming petition process. So we're hoping to gain support, but we're also, I guess, open to hear any feedback. Yeah, feel free to add in if there's anything I missed, Tracy.
Yeah, I guess specifically you can email me and or Luke, and we can compile all those.
Okay, so question from Bruce, and I think you guys just answered it anyway. He asked, if not in this session, when and how can neighbors concerns or objections take place or be taken in consideration? And I think, Tracy, you just answered that. If you have a very specific concern, objection, consideration, whatever it may be, it's best to email Tracy. She's the project manager. Please email her directly with your name, your address, so we know exactly where to look on the map to see where you are and how the project would affect your property. So please, 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 her email will be given at the end of the session. We'll put it back up so you can jot that down, but please ask those specific questions to them. Hold on, we have a couple of questions coming in. Let's see. Bruce also asked, how do we get face-to-face dialogue on this? Again, if you email Tracy, she can set up a time to chat with you on Zoom or Teams, whatever it may be. But those face-to-face one-to-ones are better scheduled than in a group session where we're just trying to answer generic general questions. So that one is answered. Okay, could you help everyone understand the ramifications to having non-conforming sewer lines as they are currently? Essentially, is the project necessary?
Yes, the project is necessary because they're not standard leads. So they're longer than needed. They might go through somebody else's property. They do go through the right of way, which is not allowed. So if there ever is a problem with the lead, again, it's private from the house to the main, then you would have to pay for digging up the entire road to get to the end of the lead to fix it. So we are giving you the opportunity to have a standard lead. Again, we can go over the specifics of like each individual house later. If you email me, I can set up a time to go over the specifics of that. But basically, it's if you don't have a standard lead now and we leave you this stub, then if there is a problem with your lead in the future, you would just have to connect it to this sanitary main in the future. So it could be years from now.
Somebody asked, maybe could you tell us why our leads are non-compliant? What rule or regulation would be helpful to understand that? Like, what's the standard of the leads?
I don't know the exact number of the ordinance or anything. I could look it up. But the standard here, let me go to that photo again. The rule is you cannot pass your property line like perpendicularly. You can't go past your property line through the right of way. So you'd have to go straight out into a main. This was allowed before because there wasn't a main to continue to or to connect to. And so we're just making it all compliant.
Okay, thank you. Barry asked, will there be a crossing path for pedestrians to cross Wallingford from Harding?
Currently, there's not one, and we are not proposing to add one. So the only crosswalk that exists today is for crossing Harding, and that's the same in the proposed condition.
Okay, thank you. Somebody asked, has the aesthetic of the neighborhood and it being historical, built in the 1920s, was that considered when drafting up this design to change the curvature of the road?
Luke, do you want to go first?
Well, you can go first.
Yes, there were a couple options of where to put this. And we went with this location for the intersection because it still has the curve on Harding. And then people are stopped here and like headlights are gonna go this direction, and we'd considered keeping it over here. But then headlights went right into the, living room window of this house. So we went with this one because it still kept we feel like it still keeps the aesthetic of the neighborhood. It still has room for big, beautiful trees, landscaping, more grass area, and still keeps the curvature of the road.
Okay. Is changing the curvature of the road absolutely necessary?
Well, with all the data, it's not hard. It's very hard to draw a line there. It's more of there's really not any like a recorded issue to fix. It's more of, I guess, to improve the service to pedestrians. So there, the crosswalk will be shorter, and the interaction between drivers and pedestrians will be more like closer, more defined after the intersection. The size of the intersection is reduced.
Okay. Somebody asked, is it a city policy to change intersections or make these kinds of adjustments first, if there's no problem other than addressing other things like potholes, etc.? So what's the city?
Right. So it's not a prioritization to use resources here, then not deploy them to other areas where pavement condition is worse. This is more of the utilities product provides an opportunity to deploy a change, and the cost is not, relatively speaking, is not significant. So that's why we're exploring this change, and that's the direction from the council resolution that got passed last year.
Okay. Is the reconfiguration based primarily on a safety standard or because of the new water main?
It's mostly a safety
Yeah.
standard.
Yes.
Okay. If no one in the neighborhood is on board or wants this work to be done, will it still take place?
Tracy?
That I don't think that's my call to make. I would have to talk it over with my boss, the city engineer, the transportation department, the transportation commission, and we might have to go to council about it to explain why we're not following the resolution. But there is more people use this sidewalk and crossing and intersection than the people that live there. So it's not going to be the only factor, but it will be a consideration.
Okay. I think we answered this question already, but you can quickly go over it again. Somebody asked, have there been any accidents or safety incidents at this intersection? And I think, Luke, you had answered that prior.
Right. Over the past 10 years, there was only one crash that's property damage only. That's between a traveling car and a car that's parked on street. And that crash occurred 10 years ago. After that one, there's no other reported crash.
And then somebody asked, who's the final decision makers in this movement of this project going forward, etc. Tracy, I think you had answered that briefly before.
Yeah, final would be council, but also the Transportation Commission and the Transportation Department and the Engineering Department, in that order.
Okay. 1 second. Oh. Let me see. All right, so it seems like most, if not all of our questions have been answered. I do have a lot of comments in the chat. Somebody asked, oh, more questions. Somebody asked, could you let us know who is the contact for transportation? I guess the head of transportation, if they wanted to touch base with them, who should they contact?
So transportation group is part of engineering. So the supervisor is the city engineer that reports to the public services area administrator. And inside the engineering department, we currently do not have a permanent transportation manager. I am the current interim transportation manager until the next manager is hired.
So the person that you should contact would be Luke. And Tracy, if you could kindly go to the slide with our contact information, just to leave that up for people to check out. Okay. Somebody asked, that I think we may have touched on it, but just a good, if you could give a brief reiteration, like what is the purpose of thinking of this as a safety issue if there haven't been any significant safety issues in this intersection? And I think that may go back to some of our city values and movements. Yes, so.
Yeah, sort of on that. The way I look at it is that we repave roads so infrequently that we have to kind of predict the future on how they're going to be used. And there has been a lot of transportation, different modes of transportation since the road was originally built in the 1920s. A lot more people are biking, a lot more people are walking, strollers, whatever. There's motorized unicycles right now for it's just crazy. So we kind of have to make it safe, not only now, but 50 years from now. So that's just kind of how I picture it.
Okay. So I'll leave the floor open for a couple more minutes for people to drop more questions, but I do think we have answered the majority of the questions. There's some comments in the chat that I will gather and forward on to the project managers to read through. But again, these are our contact informations. I highly encourage you to reach out to Tracy or Luke if you have a very specific concern about your property. Obviously, this project will affect everybody a little bit differently, and some of us more than others, especially those towards like the curvature of the street. So please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will provide a copy of these slides and also a recording of this presentation on our webpage, probably by tomorrow or the day after. So if you have a neighbor that you want to share it with or couldn't make it, please encourage them to go check it out as well. But in the meantime, if you need anything or have a question, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you for coming. So that's all that we have for you today. And all the best. Have a great week.